Welcome to Dysfunctionally Yours, the podcast where we embrace the chaos, laugh through the struggles, and find hope on the other side of trauma. I'm your host, Brittany, and if you've ever felt like your life was a beautifully messy roller coaster of dysfunction, trust me, you're in good company. Here, we'll have real, raw, and sometimes ridiculous conversations about mental health, relationships, and healing, because let's be honest, life isn't always pretty, but that doesn't mean we can't come out of it stronger and maybe even smiling. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of bubbles, and let's navigate this wild journey together, dysfunctionally, but never alone.
Welcome back, friends, to another episode of Dysfunctionally Yours, and I am Brittany. Did we ever think that that was just like gonna randomly change? Like, what if I got on here one day and I was like, and I am Sylvia? Be like, what? What who did that? Anyways, I am Brittany, and it is Christmas time, right? Christmas time is in full swing. Full swing. So I'm gonna create an episode that I have actually been dreading a little bit. You know, there's been a few of those throughout the course of this year. One around my brother's anniversary and one around now. All right, so there's that. That's anticlimactic. Any poodles, before we do that, let's have a little ache and relief of the week. Also, I found a new tea. This tea, okay, first and foremost, before ache of the week, I have to say, I found a new tea. I don't actually even like cinnamon. It is not a flavor that I love or anything. But I was at a Christmas holiday party and they had like this cinnamon festive holiday one. Or in my brain, it was going to be like it just felt vibey. It just felt cozy, right? So I was like, let me try this tea. So freaking good. I had to go out. I had to buy it. And so now I have this cinnamon tea. And I think this one was actually a cinnamon tea with a pumpkin spice tea. I promise you the cinnamon overpowers the pumpkin spice, which was sort of the point because this pumpkin spice one was a little bland. And now that you know all about mixing tea, I will go into the ache and relief of the week. So, any poodles. Oh, God, my ache of the week. It's been a week. It's been actually, what is my actual just one ache? I could give you like 30 aches of the week, but one ache of the week, I will say, I'm going to actually give more than one. And I'm going to start with a heavier one, and then I'm going to give you how ridiculous I am. So, my heavier one is I was a depressed burrito all day yesterday, and that came in big fits of crying, like ugly crying, like the snot bubble tears, just ugly cry, and then just lots of sadness, and then more crying, and then more sadness, and so on and so forth. You get the point of that. So that was rough. And it's okay. And I'll get more into that in a minute. My other not so extreme ache of the week, I was walking through the store and I was like, I would really love some soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. So I buy the things for said soup and grilled cheese sandwich. I got home and I made one grilled cheese sandwich and I burnt the fuck out of it. And I made 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and I, burned the fuck out of the second one. I made a 3rd grilled cheese sandwich, and the 3rd time is not success. I burnt a 3rd grilled cheese sandwich, and that was like, what? Have you ever been in the kitchen before ever in your whole life, Brittany? So I did burn 3 grilled cheese sandwiches back to back to back, and that's all I really wanted to eat. And so I suffered through a burnt grilled cheese sandwich, and it just was disgusting because ew. And, we lived to tell the story on another day. I have since redeemed myself and made a delicious, perfect grilled cheese sandwich. The key is Gouda. But maybe don't listen to me on the key to a good grilled cheese sandwich when I did say I burnt 3 in a row. So that was actually so wild. My relief of the week will be, though, aside from all of it and with all of the highs and lows, I have had such a fun, like friend-filled week. Say it fast. Fun, friend-filled week. And that has been really delightful. It's been exhausting, and I'm sure I paid the price yesterday, but it has been very, very nice to go to cookie parties and to friend happy hour and, to meet up with a friend because she was having a hard time as well. And it's just nice. It was nice, and there was a lot of different interactions, and so I'm sure my social battery was 100% depleted, but it was all worth it in the moment because, I had a great week. Alright, so there's that. My suggestion would be pace yourself, young grasshoppers. Pace yourself if you are having all of the social events for the holidays because they do catch up to you. That is for sure. So, any hoodles, this episode, we are not going to wrap it up in a pretty bow. It's just not a pretty bow kind of episode. This is not your choose joy kind of conversation. This episode is for the people that love Christmas from a distance, like me. I, in my brain, say I love Christmas. My children would come to you at this moment in time in life and say, you never loved Christmas. You hate Christmas. And so I've talked about it before. I've had to do some inner reflecting on all of that. But we are now saying that I love Christmas from a distance. And I know I'm not the only one. So this episode is for the ones who show up, do their very best, and sometimes still feel really invisible in what is supposed to be the jolliest time of year. And Christmas can be joyful. Christmas can be joyful and jolly and cheery and filled with love and all of that lovely, beautiful stuff. And it can be painful at the same time. I have talked a lot this year about two things being able to be possible at one time. And this was a lesson I really had to put a lot of thought and effort into learning since Chase passed away in therapy, that two things can be true at one time. And there, like Christmas is a beautiful example of how it can be joyful and painful at the same time. And that's okay. And you're not alone. And if this season feels heavy or feels lonely, I see you. We see you. You aren't alone. This episode isn't here to fix anything. I'm going to tell you that right now. But it is here to tell the truth. And it is here for those of you that feel invisible during the holidays. I see you. Because me too. Me too. As you know, I am a mom of adult kids. And here's the part of parenthood that we don't really talk about enough. And that is that sometimes thank you never comes. Not in words and not in effort and not even in a card in the mail. You still show up and you still help them and you still love them and all of that. But there is a quiet grief in realizing that love doesn't always come back wrapped up the same kind of way that it was given in the first place. Um, as a single mom, like you'd show up, you'd do your best for your kids. And I think all parents show up and do their best for your kids. Remember, I'm not chastising anybody. I can only speak from my own personal experience, and my own personal experience was very much as a single mom. And so I speak from that lens because that is my lens and that is the one that I am familiar with. But I know that that is applicable to everybody. It's applicable to any parent, right? You show up and you show up for the kids and you show up financially and you show up emotionally and you show up consistently and you do the very, very, very best that you can for their entire life. And um, kids are still going to be kids and they don't always notice it, right? They obviously don't necessarily notice it whenever they're itty bitty. They're not supposed to. And then there is this dream that comes that whenever they become grown, and who knows what grown is at this point? I don't know the answer to tell you that today. But when they become grown, you you really hope that they're going to see everything that you did and stood for and tried so hard to do. And what I have learned, not easily, I might add, but what I have learned is that despite my best efforts, that Hallmark holiday with my kids just isn't us. And loving my children was never conditional, but the silence of it all still lands. And that silence lands really, really heavy at times. So, um, for a long time, Christmas came with this ache, this hope that this year would feel different. This year was going to be the year. This was going to be the year that the Hallmark holiday happened. And recently, something has shifted. That ache didn't disappear, right? The ache or this longing for this year to be different, it didn't disappear. But the hope that I had for that really stopped fighting reality. And that acceptance, it didn't break me at all. That acceptance really steadied me because for years I fought it. I fought the never ending journey to find holiday spirit, to find that connection, to find that joy, to find that Hallmark movie, to find a place that was mine, to find a place that I was seen the same way that I wanted to see everybody else. And chasing that actually probably caused more heartbreak and stress on not just myself, but like on my kids, on other people around me. And it took a really, really long time to understand that acceptance, acceptance wasn't defeat, right? To accept that I was never going to get there wasn't really an acceptance of defeat. It wasn't defeat. It wasn't defeat at all. But it also wasn't happiness. But that acceptance was going to make me stable, right? Like I had to stop chasing something that maybe was a fictional fairy tale and just wasn't lined up in my cards, right? So if you're chasing a myth, if you're chasing a fantasy, if you're chasing a fairy tale, that can be really stressful until you're willing to accept that that's not reality. And sometimes reality comes with this like crushing moment. But once you are able to accept what is real from what is fictional, you become a little bit more stable and a little bit more grounded in that moment. My parents are gone. My brothers are gone. And that's not really meant to be a dramatic statement. It's just sort of the landscape of what my life is right now. And those stories need zero embellishment. But it is to say, and it is put there to say, that my family dynamic looks very, very different. And So I have these children that are adults that are kind of off doing their own adult thing, and their adult thing is not necessarily what I want, right? It's not my fairy tale, it's not my dream, and that doesn't always align the right way. And I don't have this immediate family with my parents and brothers to be able to say, "Hey, I'm going home to mom's for the holidays," or I get to see my siblings for the holidays. That's not my journey either. And so with those things, that can be very, very lonely. And I can't make any of those things show up any different than they are, right? I can't make people be there that aren't there. Um, and so having to accept that is a heavy reality to accept. But again, being able to accept it and stop chasing after something, right? I think for a long time, I tried to, or I hoped that I would like be like just engulfed into somebody else's family, right? Like that I would find a new home amongst another family. And I chased it and I chased it and I chased it and I chased it. And I will tell you right now, I have never found it. And not being able to find it can be really disheartening if that's what you're constantly chasing. Um, I do have extended family, right? I talk about them. I do have extended family, and they do care, right? But they don't see me for me, right? We weren't all raised together. They weren't raised in the same house, in the same home, and they have their own experiences in their own life. And that looks very different than mine. Um, and that's really difficult sometimes because, like, as much as I wish that they would see me, see my story and see my journey and that it mattered to them the same way it matters to me, there's really just no way that it could. Um, and that's okay. Like, honestly, how could they? Like, we all have led a very different life. Um, but it doesn't always line up the way that I would think that it would or the way that I would want it to. Like recently I was asked to pitch in on a fairly large joint gift for somebody. And it would have been a very thoughtful gift and it would have been a very nice gift. And whenever I was asked, I was like, no, I'm not pitching in on that. Because I have my own house that could use that same gift. Because I have my own children who could use that same gift, right? So if I was going to purchase said gift, I would buy that same exact gift for myself or for my own children who would also benefit from something like that in their own home. Um, and it didn't feel like that landed well. Like it was sort of taken aback, like, what? You're not going to pitch in on this? And it's like, but no, why would I? And that's a very thoughtful gift. If you want to do that, like props to you. I like commend you for being so A plus in that area. But like, are we not realizing that like we all have other things, like other households, other children, other priorities? Like it just felt very off. And of course I felt very bad. And, you know, whenever the response was also kind of like, gasp, what? Then I felt even worse, but I had to really stand by that to be what I I need that gift too. um and I guess the point in all of that is just kind of like we're all in such a very different place. We all have different experiences. And so it's more of this like emotional mismatch than anything, right? I think everybody has the best intentions, genuinely and truly. I do think everybody has the best intentions. It's just not aligning the right way. And sometimes I think that love exists without understanding, and that can still hurt, but it's still love, right? We can't say like nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. I know that that's not true at all, but it can still hurt when like that love is there without understanding of who you are as your own individual, as your own person who carries their own experiences and goes through their own struggles at this time of year. Last year I spent some time probably trying to force like a square peg in a round hole, really trying to chase that Hallmark movie for me and my own children. And it resulted in conflict. It resulted in fallout. It resulted in literal holes in my wall. And I realized like you can't force others to accept what you want. You can't force others to accept where they are, and you can't force others to just have their pain go away, you know? So even my own children come with their own pain and their own experiences at this time in their life. And I, as their mother, I can't force those experiences to change, and I can't force those experiences to the pain from them to just dissolve and go away. And I can't force that my vision of this beautiful Hallmark movie just suddenly create a Hallmark movie for them too, and that their experiences don't also matter. So that gets very challenging as well, right? I wanted something so beautiful and, to realize that it just kind of was not going to happen, even in a very untraditional kind of sense, was devastating. And so as December crept closer and closer and closer, I was like, what am I going to do this year? Like, what does this year look like? Because I feel like I've tried everything under the sun to make it be okay, right? I have tried to force the family experiences with my own, parents in different ways. I tried to force the family experiences with my brothers who are now gone. And, that didn't always work out either. I tried to force this family experience with my own children. And, that just kind of misses every time. And that's sad for me as mom. I've tried to give gifts that were in my brain very thoughtful and very exciting, because like as an adult, who wants to buy stupid household shit? You don't want to buy this shit. Like, let me buy you the things that you don't want to buy. Let me like buy very thoughtful things that are like, this would be fun to have, but you never want to buy it, right? We're always going to buy what we need. We're going to buy the microwave because we need it. We don't necessarily want to buy that fun thing for the home that you're like, yeah, I don't need it, but I want it and it'd be cool to have it. And then to see it still in boxes on the floor in their house years later is, very disheartening. And you're like, what the heck? Try to buy cool experiences, trips, hotel stays, whatever. And it just always falls really kind of short. And so then you're like, well, okay, we won't do that anymore. And then, so I was like, what does this year look like? What do I want to do? How much of myself do I want to give? How much of myself do I not want to give? And this year I decided it's just kind of back in survival mode, but it was going to be survival mode with less chaos. That was the bottom line. Less chaos, because I cannot emotionally do it, and more self-awareness about what I can do, because I cannot keep forcing a Hallmark movie, because do those actually exist? I mean, I do see everybody's social media pictures and they look delightful, but does it always go off without a hitch? Like, does it? I don't know. And basically really just being able to accept the things that I cannot change and to change the things that I can. very Serenity Prayer-esque, right? And then being able to have the courage to know the difference in that. And that is not an easy task, but it is the one that I have committed myself to this year. Because honestly, I have to stop asking Christmas to heal things that it didn't break, right? It's just a holiday. It didn't do any of the things. It didn't do any of the things that make me feel the way that I do about the particular holiday. It didn't force the experiences that I do have. It didn't do anything. It is just a holiday. It is just a day on the calendar. And so with all of that said, I just want to say that this season has brought in some new supports for me and some new friends and some small moments of warmth with cookies and laughter and really feeling seen and heard by people that I have brought into my life and put around me. And that is very cool. I told my therapist how surprising it was to be seen by so many people lately. Um, and she was not surprised. she, she was like, "Of course they see you," right? She was not surprised. Um, but I will say that I am so, so, so grateful because it has taken a lot of healing and it has taken a lot of growth to be able to have those type of people around me. And I really, really, really can appreciate that. And so while this holiday season might look very different for me than lots of other holiday seasons, I will say that that acceptance feels nice. The new supports and warmth that has come my way from those moments feels nice. And maybe I didn't find joy, but I did find support. And right now, that is enough. Um, so I think that for any of you out there that are in survival mode for any reason, whether you've experienced a loss or whether your family is just a little bit fucking crazy or or you're going through any other number of hard things that seem to plague us on holidays. And I want you to know that I see you and survival mode is okay. It's okay to take care of you. It's okay to not always do things the way that they've always been done. It's okay to change things up and do them the way that makes you feel okay and makes you feel seen and makes you feel valued. I want to remind you that you can remove the pressure from performing holiday happiness. I know it is the holidays, and I know everybody says it's the happiest time of year. But if you are not happy, forcing yourself to be happy is not always the fix. And other people notice it, and then there's all kinds of extra added pressure. So I encourage you to ask for what you want and ask for what you need because people are more inclined to give that to you when they know it from an honest kind of space what that is that you're looking for and seeking. I want to let you know that it is okay to quietly just endure, to get by, to navigate this storm however you need to navigate that. And if that is showing up to all of the events and having a great time and then going home and being a depressed burrito to recuperate, that is okay too. If you are just getting through this season, just getting through it, you're not failing. I was talking to a friend today and she said, "So you're just coasting through." She said, "That's okay. It is okay to just coast sometimes." And I loved that she used the word coast because, right, if you think about it, If you are riding a bike, there are many times that you stop pedaling and you just coast. You just let the momentum take you where you need to go before you start putting in all of that effort again, before you take on the next hurdle, right? You just take a minute to just coast along. If you are a little sailboat at sea, you're just kind of coasting. You can cut the motors and you can prop up your sail and you can let the winds take you where you're going and you can just coast along. And that is okay. It does not mean that you have given up. It does not mean that you are failing. It does not mean that you will not get where you are going. It just means that you are giving yourself a little moment of reprieve to heal and to make it through this particular storm or this particular adventure or learning what this new journey looks like for you. So sometimes the Christmas miracle is just getting through December without emotionally combusting. And honestly, I will take it. That is where I am right now. And I will honestly take that. So, with all of that to be said, please take care of yourself in the next upcoming weeks. Take care of your families. Reach out to the families that you know could use a little extra hug, a little extra thought, a little extra compassion and empathy. And if you are that person who needs a little extra hug or thought or compassion or empathy, reach out and let people know what you need, because people don't know unless you tell them. They are not mind readers. We all are only doing the very best that we can in the middle of a very, very, very busy time of year. So with that, new episodes come out every Monday. And until then, don't be afraid to be great. Toodles, poodles, bye.